There's a new gold-plated smartphone on the way that's endorsed by the Trump Organization. The Nothing Phone 3 has a confirmed processor, and it's not at all the one you, me, or anyone else expected, and OnePlus might be changing its smartphone cameras in a big way with its upcoming flagship. I'm C. Scott Brown, and it's time for a quick roundup of the biggest tech news that you need to know about. One of the biggest and strangest stories this week revolves around a new phone and mobile network created by the Trump Organization. Yes, President Donald Trump's sons announced T1 Mobile this week, a cellular service provider that offers unlimited talk, text, and data on all three of the major US networks, as well as a few other notable perks, including a not really explained telehealth service of some kind. All of this will cost you $47.45 monthly. If that amount seems strange to you, that's because it references the fact that Trump is the 47th president and the 45th president. Nice one, guys. The Trump Organization claims the T1 mobile service will work on pretty much any phone, although you can use your IMEI number to determine if your specific device is supported. However, what people have really been talking about this week isn't the service, but the phone the Trump sons launched alongside of it. The Android-powered T1 phone is, as one would expect, a gaudy gold-covered device with a small American flag on the back underneath a much larger T in President Trump's usual font. It has some pretty standard specs for a budget phone, including a 6.8-inch AMOLED display, 256 gigabytes of internal storage, 12 gigabytes of RAM, a 50-megapixel primary sensor with a macro lens and a depth sensor, and an under-display fingerprint sensor. Notably, it also has a headphone jack and expandable storage, so who knows? Maybe this phone will be a huge hit amongst Android fans.
No! No! No!
As with any product launched with Trump's name on it, there are a lot of unknowns related to the T1 phone. For example, where is the phone made? Eric Trump, President Trump's second eldest son, has said that the phone will be designed and built in America, but then has also said that the first batch will not be designed and built in America. Looking at the design of the phone as we've seen it so far, we are 100% certain it is not made in the United States, as it bears a strong resemblance in both specs and design to Chinese-made phones that already exist. The price of the phone is also perplexing. The Trump Organization says it will cost $499, which is pretty up there for a phone with these specs. However, if the phone really is made in the USA, it should cost many, many times that. For example, the Liberty phone from a company called Purism is mostly made in the USA, and costs nearly $2,000, and it has way worse specs than this. Anyone who's paid attention to President Trump and the Trump Organization knows that announcing products and services that will never actually come to be is a typical occurrence. As such, there's every reason to believe that the T1 phone will never actually materialize, and the $100 deposit you need to put down to buy one will just end up in the Trump family's pockets. However, that didn't stop me from doing just that. That's right, I've pre-ordered the Trump phone. I want to see what it really is all about. Stay tuned, as I'll have lots of info to give you on it when it arrives. Well, if it ever arrives, anyway. I'm not holding my breath. In other news this week, we finally got confirmation of the processor that will power the Nothing Phone 3, the first true flagship from the company since 2023. If you're expecting me to say the Snapdragon 8 Elite will power the phone, I'm going to throw you a curveball and say that the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 is the actual processor. If I could stop for a second here, can we all agree that Qualcomm is so bad at naming things? Seriously, how can anyone actually say the name Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 out loud and think, yeah, that's a great name for a product. Good job, marketing team. Everyone gets a raise. I just can't believe it. Anyway, the Nothing Phone 3 will have the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 under the hood, which means the phone will definitely not be able to compete with phones that have the 8 Elite inside, including the Galaxy S25 series, the OnePlus 13, and more. This is disappointing, as Nothing has been consistently referring to the Phone 3 as a true flagship, which I guess it still is, but just not in the way that any of us expected. To be clear though, the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 should be a really good processor. I don't want you to think that it's not going to be good, because it is plenty powerful and should be able to handle all your productivity and gaming tasks with ease. It just won't be the best processor you can get in an Android phone right now. We'll find out everything there is to know about the Nothing Phone 3 on July 1st when Nothing launches it in London. Until then, expect a steady drip of teases from Nothing daily until you are so sick to death of hearing about it.
I don't feel so good.
Our last story today is all about OnePlus and the next flagship phone we expect to see from them, which we're tentatively calling the OnePlus 15. If you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Scott, isn't the OnePlus 13 the most recent phone, so the OnePlus 14 should be next, right? Well, let me tell you real quick about tetraphobia, which is the fear of the number 4. This is a very prevalent superstition in East Asian cultures due to the word 4 being very similar to the word death in many languages, including Chinese. Given that OnePlus is a Chinese company, the brand avoids using the word 4 as much as it can, which is why there was no OnePlus 4. It skipped from the OnePlus 3 to the OnePlus 5. So yeah, we're expecting the next flagship from the brand to be the OnePlus 15 and not the OnePlus 14. The news that broke earlier this week is a rumor that OnePlus could be abandoning its partnership with the legendary photography company Hasselblad. Since 2021, Hasselblad has worked with OnePlus on color tuning its smartphone cameras, as well as incorporating unique camera features, such as X-Pan mode, which is like a panoramic mode, but better. Honestly, most people probably won't care if their next OnePlus phone doesn't have the Hasselblad logo on the back, but it is important to note that OnePlus's camera systems were pretty mid for a while and started to get great when Hasselblad came along. I'm not suggesting that the cameras will be worse without Hasselblad, but it could mean changes to the overall look and feel of images captured with OnePlus phones. Change is scary sometimes, but let's wait and see how this plays out. That's it for this roundup. If you want to dive deeper into these stories, I have included links below to the original sources on these topics. Remember to like and subscribe so you'll be notified as soon as the next roundup goes live. See you all soon.